Hey everybody, you want to be a legend in your own kitchen? How about baking your own loaf of bread? How about baking a loaf of gluten-free bread? Now today, this is part two in a series that, never really exists. I've done it a couple times now, is I'm doing a recipe I've never made before. I really have no idea how this is going to turn out, but it's from a recipe from a friend of mine in Ireland, and it's from a recipe by Becky Excel. She's a spectacular cookbook author, almost all gluten-free stuff in England. And I'm going to be making one of her gluten-free breads. Now, to begin with, I've already started mixing the yeast, water, and sugar together. Now you can see it's been about 7, 8 minutes, a little longer than I want to. You know how it looks like, I don't know, root beer float? Now I'm going to see if I can break this up a little bit, have it go down. Now here's the thing. You see recipes a lot of times, they talk about just mixing the sugar and water and the yeast together, but they don't say why. Try and keep it all in there. They don't say why, and here's why. On the one hand, two things happen. One is you want to perhaps liquefy, get the yeast so it's not all dry. But here's the big thing. Oftentimes yeast goes bad. It only has a shelf life. It could be a year. Usually it's got an expiration date on the package. But sometimes it goes bad before that. Sometimes it might last a little longer. The purpose of mixing it with the sugar and warm water, that's going to really wake up the yeast. If you do that beforehand and nothing happens, it just sits there and there's no bubbling, you don't need that much bubbling, usually a little foaming on the top. If that doesn't happen, your yeast is going nowhere. Your bread won't rise and all of your efforts won't go anywhere. So that's why you really do it. That's the key thing. Nobody ever tells you that. Now, let's start mixing everything together. First of all, the dry ingredients. I've mixed them all together in a bowl, and I've got gluten-free flour. It's the one-to-one baking flour. I've got psyllium husk. I've got buckwheat flour, which actually is gluten-free, and I mean naturally gluten-free. And I've got, what else do I have in there? Oh, I've got tapioca starch. Recipe calls for tapioca flour, completely interchangeable in just about every recipe I've ever seen. I'm going to pop them in there, and now mix them up before I put in any other ingredients. Just going to give them a slow spin here. I could have mixed them up in the bowl with a whisk, but I'm going to be doing this anyway, so I might as well save myself a bowl and a whisk. You don't want to start out on a high speed, because otherwise I get a mushroom cloud of flour and other dusty things. Take your time. Just give it a sec. That's all. That's easy. Now I'm going to add in, I've got just egg whites and cider vinegar. I just put them in the one bowl. Just make it easier to add them. And again, just give those a quick little spin, just to start the incorporating of them. And now, come on, how about if I lower the bowl? Now I'm just going to add just the yeast mixture. Really, I never get it going this high. So we're going to see how this works. Let me get all of it out of here. Yep, that definitely looks like something weird experimentally is going on. Now this is going to mix around for about 3 to 5 minutes. And the recipe says that it's going to be a very wet dough. Not a big deal. I trust Becky Excel. First, just trying to get everything incorporated together initially, just so nothing's flying out. Now, give it a spin. We'll see in about 5 minutes. Well, if you checked your watches, 5 minutes has gone by. So, I've got the dough here. It doesn't look super exciting, but it's not supposed to. When you look at that color, it's not a white bread, it's not a whole wheat bread. That's got that color because of the buckwheat flour and the psyllium husk. Not a big deal. By the way, the psyllium husk helps keep everything all bound together. So now I've got a combination of some poppy seeds and pumpkin seeds. You can't see the poppy seeds in there, but now I'm just going to add these. I'm just going to put this on the slowest mixture just to kind of incorporate them. Stop for a sec, just brush down the sides. Make sure everybody gets incorporated as much as possible. Pull that off. It is a damp, sticky dough, as promised. One more quick little spin. I'm not having it fly along because I don't want to break up any of the seeds. That could happen. This way, it'll just incorporate and look pretty good. I like that. All right. So now, we're getting closer to going into the oven. I'm just going to let this rest for 10 minutes now. Just let it sit. See, the dough comes right off. It doesn't look like your normal bread dough, but then again, one of the things about bread dough, what kind of makes it all go together, whether you're doing it by hand when you're kneading it, that's with a K, or just doing it in the mixer, all that beating of it just builds up the gluten strands, and that's what gives it its strength in its body. This doesn't have the gluten strands in there because there's no gluten, so it's got a definitely different texture. So now I'm just going to give it one little spin around, and we'll see in 10 minutes. 10 minutes has gone by. All that's left is a little more resting, a little more baking, and then we're going to have a loaf of bread. So you'll see that this is not your typical bread dough texture. It looks like a very dense cake. Let me see if I can grab some more out of this. Look at that. That's certainly not like any bread I've made in a while, but that's fine. This is all in the world of gluten-free, so I am fine with how this is looking. Now I'm just going to scrape this off here because it is a sticky dough. Again, you're looking at this saying, really, that's going to be bread? I'm not even half thinking that. But again, this is an experiment. So I'm just going to push it in, flatten it down. Maybe smooth over the top a little bit. Taking my time. Anyway, almost there to the edge. I think that's good. So now I'm just going to cover it with some plastic wrap. And in an hour, it's going to go into the oven. It's proofed. And look at this. This doesn't look like any bread I've seen before, but that just looks really cool. It's got a nice warmth to it from sitting in the oven for proofing. So just two little things before it goes in the oven. Going to just put a little egg wash on. This will help with the browning. You know, you can also use water. Milk sometimes works, but I think for this length in the oven, it might help burn the top. So, just going to do that. And then just cover the whole thing. This will be a mini scrambled egg in the morning. And I'd said before that I was going to, when I put the seeds in, that's pumpkin seeds and the poppy seeds, that I was putting about 3/4 mixed in because the rest is going on the top. I'll be checking while this is baking to make sure that the seeds don't burn. So it's got 2 steps in the oven, one at about 480 degrees, and that's about 20 minutes. I'm going to drop it down to 4 1/4, and all in all, it's going to be about an hour. Well, it's showtime. How did this thing come out? It looks good. It's got a nice browning to it. I like the color. The seeds all look good. Well, here we go. I like the look of that, but let's do a slice that's not the end bit. I like the feel of it. Feels like bread. Let's see how it tastes. This is actually the important part. That's pretty good. Oh, that's really good. Wow, that's really good. I'm finished chewing now. That's a lovely bread. I'm pleasant. I'm not, well, Becky XL Does great recipes. And this friend of mine from Ireland who sent this, she knows her stuff, but I am thrilled with this. I'm going to post this one on the website, and that's how you make a gluten-free bread. Wow! I hope you liked this video, and if you do, please click like, and even better, please hit subscribe. Thank you.